Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. Today is a day. It is the 4th of May. May the 4th be with you. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I know. Well, so what does this mean exactly? Well, it's all related to Star Wars. And yeah, kind of related fun stuff. This is actually kind of a neat comic. This one's from like 1983, 1982. Anyway, when you look inside the cover, it says Stan Lee presents Star Wars, the greatest space fantasy of all. Huh. Even back then, Marvel and Star Wars were doing stuff together. And now they're part of the House of Mouse. But I'm going to show you something that's kind of neat. So if you had one of these comics when you were a kid, you could see stuff like this. Let's see if it'll focus in on this one. Look at that. You could actually earn your black belt, and you get a free brick breaking course. How cool is that? Anyway, pretty wild stuff for time and place, but anyway, I'm going to set that off to one side. So, with today's drawing, we're going to try to draw something as it relates to Star Wars and May the 4th. I have this, which is taken from one of my Monopoly games. Yeah, over the years, I've collected hundreds of Monopoly games, and this is the Millennium Falcon. So I'm going to use this kind of as a reference, see how that goes. We're going to open up the inkwell here. I don't want to get in trouble because I know there are people that are super duper into Star Wars and they know the lore and all that kind of stuff. I know bits and pieces about it. Much like I think a few videos back, I did a few videos in relation to Star Trek. Completely different thing. I was overtired and spit out some crazy information. Some of it was wrong. And I'm okay with that because, well, most of that made up stuff, well, it's still fun though. I mean, you know what? I'm not really here to make fun of that sort of thing. Let's see if we can zoom in just a little bit here. Okay. Well, here's the rough idea with what I'm going to do with this. I want to create a different kind of view of this, I think. Yeah. We're going to keep kind of a disc shape to start. We can kind of go for like an action kind of look to it. And then what we need, oops, so there's a little fuzzy wuzzy thing here, probably cat hair. We need that center gun in that disc. So that's going to be our spot for the turret, going off to each side. We're going to create separate compartments. Now this isn't going to be exactly it. This is just for fun. So, you know, those of you who draw this stuff all the time, not my intention to destroy concepts. The idea here is just to kind of get a rough idea of this Corellian light freighter. So this is what we have going on so far. And again, I'm using something here as a reference of sorts. So it's not going to be perfect. I don't expect it to be perfect. But if you're drawing along, these are the shapes that we're going with. It's not going to be a horseshoe. And I wonder how much influence there would have been from like Star Trek. It'd be kind of funny if there was a bit of an influence, but that disc shape has been around for a while with a lot of different things. So now off to one side here, we're going to have like another sort of like area where, let's say, Han could hang out. And, well, Chewie, of course, too. We're just sketching stuff here. It's not going to look exactly the same. Because we have the thing tilted a little bit. Oh yeah, let's put the blasters up here just for fun. Underneath here, got it tilted just a little bit. But I think it looks enough, like it. And then I think if you wanted to add a bit more like zany detail, you could kind of give it a patchwork effect. With this, it seems as if we have kind of like a satellite dish on it. But we'll get to that in a moment. So let's put in some detail. Ooh, maybe we don't need to go that far with that. There, there. But I have to imagine that this vessel has been kind of pieced together and hot rodded. Now, I think George Lucas, I should say, was kind of a big fan of car culture, and the ability to have people, kind of like make changes or do cool things. I think that was kind of part of the car culture that he grew up with, kind of like around the 60s, well, 50s and 60s and stuff like that. I think he was probably a fan of that sort of thing. He did a movie called American Graffiti, kind of dealt with that stuff a little bit from what I remember. But anyway, Star Wars and the Millennium Falcon. Well, I think Han Solo at one point claims that this particular machine did the Kessel run in under 12 parsecs. And I believe that that's more about distance. So this thing was able to do a very risky maneuver close to like a series of black holes. I think they called it the Dark Maw. You'll have to look that up. Again, I don't want people to get upset with me because I'm not giving you all the information, but I believe that's what it's more about. A parsec, all by itself, is something like 3 light years. I believe the overall sort of distance of the Kessel Run, which had to do with like moving spice, I believe. So like it was a smuggler's kind of run, was supposed to be something like 20 parsec distance-wise. So the whole thing's about distance and treacherous distance. So there you go. It's not about speed necessarily. It's about avoiding detection and maybe avoiding Imperial patrol, and I don't know what else I can say. But I think that's more what all that kind of stuff was about. So what I'm doing now is I'm just sort of doing some squiggly patchwork stuff. I'm probably going to bring about some ink and water, or I should say brush and water, and move this ink around a little bit, and then I'll go back in and add some detail once again. I think this looks enough like the Millennium Falcon, just enough. It's not exact, and again, it doesn't have to be. And I am using this. So, but I do remember there was some sort of piping stuff going on all over it. So a few years back, just around the time of the pandemic, I was actually at Hollywood Studios in Florida, and they have a full-size 35 meter, which is like over 112 feet, Millennium Falcon. So you can see this thing kind of in person, and when you see it in person, considering when you see it, well, for me anyway, I was a little kid when I first saw this on, the big screen. It was bigger than life then, but when you see it in real life, it's a different kind of feeling. So wild is what that is. So as I said, cup and water, and let's see if we can go about this a little bit speedy. So I have a brush here. This is a number 1 detailing brush, and I'm just going to brush in some shadow works with this, and then we'll let it go for the day. So I had talked a little bit in that other video about the Kobayashi Maru in relation to Star Trek and how that relates to one character, or tells you about the character of Captain James T. Kirk. Now, yes, others in the storyline would have access to have taken the test, but I truly believe the reason why the Kobayashi Maru exists is to tell the character of James T. Kirk. He's the central character of Star Trek. Now, in Star Wars, I believe it all revolves around, well, especially the original trilogy, which would be 4, 5, and 6. Those revolve around Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Those would be the main characters, but Luke more so than anything else. So in lore, or in the storytelling of Star Wars, there's supposed to be someone that brings balance to the Force. And I don't want to give away anything, even though this has been out for like quite some time. There are characters, again, related to Luke Skywalker, who the whole story is about. And yeah, there are little sub-stories and all that kind of stuff, and they are fantastic. Like, I'm a big fan of Andor, for example, although they're pretty violent shows. They're not fluffy. But Star Wars is about this prediction of sorts. Of somebody that's going to bring balance to the Force. Which is funny, considering that a lot of the characters that you'll see don't really believe in the Force, and they kind of mock it. So they don't really understand it. They don't understand that there's a greater power in the galaxy than just like the Empire itself. So when you get to see Darth Vader on screen, you actually get to see, like, let's say, sort of high commanding Empire I don't want to call them scumbags. Well, anyway, so officers who, when they meet Darth Vader, they don't understand why the Emperor gives that guy such leeway. They kind of despise him, and a few of them have actually tried to mock him to his face. So, yeah, not much benefit to doing that. This is what we got going on here. Millennium Falcon. Anyway, I think that's kind of the main thing that I was going to do with that. Now we're just going to go back in with the pen here. We're going to add a little bit of this detail that I kind of washed away. I'm going to set the cup on the floor because I don't like having cups of water on my desk. Okay, so I'm just going to do kind of a little bit of outlining and then maybe a little bit of darkening in. I'm going to say something kind of controversial now. And feel free to comment with how you feel about what I'm about to say. I think as a viewer, you shouldn't look at Darth Vader as being a redeemable character. Now, I think in the great scheme of things, forgiveness belongs to the great force itself. I don't think it's up to you and I to forgive Darth Vader for all the wrong that he's done. It would be ideal if we could. And perhaps in the great scheme of things, I mean, he was a party to the destruction of planets and billions of lives. But he was definitely a dark side character. And again, his exploits are kind of unknown by many in the galaxy. He was kind of legendary in a lot of ways, yes, but I don't think he was really known, much like the Force itself. So, yeah, let me know what you think of that statement. If you think that he's a character that could be redeemed just because, you know, how he dealt with the Emperor in relation to Luke Skywalker. Yeah, there you go. So as I said, right now I'm just adding in some of the detail that I took away with the brush, and then we'll let this end. I think this looks okay for what it is. It keeps that main disc kind of shape going on. There's a funny clip which you can find where somebody who is treated as some sort of a fan, but might have been a producer with Conan O'Brien. And of course it has to be set up, but Harrison Ford is doing an interview and someone comes in and they have like a Lego Millennium Falcon. And this person asks if Harrison would sign it. And of course, Harrison says, "Oh, yeah, I'll sign that for you." And when they hand it to him, he says, "Whoops," and throws it onto the floor. So, you know, that person has to be devastated that this thing got wrecked because, you know, it takes quite some time to build a Lego Millennium Falcon, and it's quite valuable piece by piece. So it's actually kind of a funny little thing that they did, but I have to imagine that interns or somebody had to build that thing for that joke. So it's a pretty heavy duty joke to just sort of dump on somebody like that. But anyway, I thought that was funny because it was shocking. Because I think if you've ever spent time with Lego and you've built something like that, and one of your kind of heroes wrecks it on you, I don't know what you're supposed to say. Maybe you just pick up a chunk of something and say, "Well, could you sign this?" Because I mean, you're not really damaging the thing. You had all your time thrown on the ground, basically. Uh, I think this is going to be it. Did I already talk about the Kessel Run? Again, I think I did. Again, I will bring this up. Yeah, it's about a shortcut where you save about 40% of the entire distance that it would take to do this smuggling run. I'm going to do something else here with this. I think I have an idea. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'm going to say that again at the end, of course. I do believe Star Wars is probably one of the biggest and best franchises going as far as merchandise and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you something. Now, I had 2 of these, and one of them I gave away. This is the prototype edition of Chewbacca, and they call it that because it seems to be like a pieced together thing, and I think that's pretty cool. I mean, you can take it out of the package and maybe you can bend it. It's probably a bendable Wookiee. There you go. How ridiculous is that? Yeah. Hey, Kieran, if you want that, let me know. I'm holding on to that for you. Or hey, Jan, if you see this and you want to hide that, then that could be. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. For now, let's just say that's for you. If you see this, if you don't see this, it's going to be a surprise for you. That last thing that I'm going to draw here, I think, will be. I don't think I need to draw anything else. But I will make a tiny thing here. I'm not really sure how this is going to go, but we're going to try. So I'm going to kind of like make almost like not a Canadian flag or anything like that. I'm going to make something here. It's not going to be beautiful. I believe something like this. Then we're going to swoop in like so. The world that we live in right now requires us to dream about so many things. And I think what we need more so than most other things is hope that, you know, the good guys and gals win. I think that's going to be it, folks. The main idea that, you know what, I am going to do it. So I was thinking of something back here. I'm not sure how it's going to go. So I do have this nearby. This is a beautiful blue ink. And this could be messy. I'll open it up here. Look at that. Okay. Now just away from the ship itself, I'm going to put in some little flakes of this blue. Just like that near it. I'll put the cover back on this. Then we're going to get the cup with water. We're going to get this detailing brush. And we are going to smear this blue there's a lot of ships that are pretty famous in the Star Wars universe. You know, the X-Wing and Slave One, which is, well, an unfortunate name, but that's what it was called when Boba Fett had it. Yeah, there's all kinds of those awesome things, but the Millennium Falcon is probably my favorite. So just a little bit more and then we'll be done. It's funny in Star Wars itself how much you hear about hyperspace. That's kind of an interesting concept. You know, the possibility of moving faster than light and then having to make your way through probably like dedicated lanes of travel because you don't want to cut through, I don't know, let's say planets. So you have to make these calculations on getting there. But anyway, that's it, folks. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, may the 4th be with you. Ciao for now.